Welcome back, everybody. Lawyers are working their way through the jury selection process in the case of Aaron Dean. This is the white Fort Worth police officer who shot and killed a black woman through a window of her very own home. Atatiana Jefferson died in October of 2019. According to witness testimony, Jefferson was babysitting her nephew when they heard a sound and thought that there was a prowler. Now, Jefferson, licensed to carry a gun, pointed it toward a window. Meanwhile, Dean and other officers had responded to a call from a neighbor about a door to the home being open, and that is when Dean shot Jefferson through the window. On body cam video, Dean is heard telling Jefferson to put up her hands, but never identified himself as a police officer. When Dean was charged with her killing, he resigned from the Fort Worth Police Department. He's entered a not guilty plea, but it's not clear what his defense is actually going to be. The defense hopes to have a jury seated by Friday. Brian, you've been following this case pretty closely. You know, this happened at a time when we had, unfortunately, similar situations where police officers shot people in their homes who, as far as we know, weren't committing any crimes. What are your thoughts on what we're seeing here?
Yeah, Jesse, you're right. I've been following Atatiana Jefferson since news first broke of her death over 3 years ago now. Since then, we've been asking, how does a non-emergency call for a front door open lead to the death of a woman in her mother's home while watching her nephew? Aaron Dean did everything wrong here. He approached a home in a non-emergency call as if it was a break-in. There was no reason for him to walk past that front door without announcing that police were there. He then walks to the back of the house, as you can kind of see in this video, when he figures, and then when he gets to a figure in the back window, it's literally a second between him saying, "Put your hands up," and shooting at Atatiana Jefferson. At the same time, the shooting was compared to the killing of Botham Jean, a black man killed in his own home when a former officer, Amber Geiger, accidentally walked into his apartment, and the comparison seems appropriate here. Now, they did find a gun. Dean says that he shot when he perceived some sort of a threat, but he didn't scream out "gun" like an officer typically does in this type of situation. If there is a defense, I would think it'd be self-defense, and no, I don't think just because it's self-defense, Dean has to testify. But in a case like this, where it objectively looks like he messed up, I think he may have to take the stand and explain what he was doing. But it's going to be a long road for him to try to convince a jury that this was self-defense in any way, shape, or form. Now, jury selection is still underway as they're trying to seek 14 jurors. This is a difficult task for the defense, as both sides are focused on where potential jurors consume their news and seeking opinions on if they think police treat people of color differently.
Terry, this case has been delayed multiple times. Why was that the case, and do you think that's going to affect an upcoming trial?
Well, the delays were different delays. The first delay was COVID, and that was all the cases that we were seeing. There was about a year delay for that. But then after that, defense counsel moved to recuse the judge. They moved to move the trial to another venue. And they basically just used every tactic they possibly could to delay. It was set for June, and then after that, they said the judge wasn't being fair, and then they set it for just this past week. So I definitely think that justice has been delayed. Evidence grows cold. The victims and their family aren't going to be able to get, some sort of closure until this trial is over. So many delays, but far more than most cases, and we need to see this trial come to, an end here.
Brian, I'll give you 10 seconds. How important is jury selection for both sides?
It's everything. How do you feel about guns, police, people in their own homes not committing crimes? That could be the big decider in this trial.
All right. Well, a woman who survived the mass shooting at a Virginia Walmart says that she told the higher-ups at Walmart that Andre Bing was acting strangely. The woman has now filed a $50 million lawsuit against Walmart for not taking steps to either fire Bing or get him help. In the suit, the plaintiff says that the shooter mocked her for being poor and being short and made inappropriate comments about her age and whether she would have any children. The plaintiff says that she has PTSD from seeing her coworkers get shot. Bing killed 6 people last week as his overnight supervisor shift was getting started, and he then turned the gun on himself. Well, the legal team for a now disgraced South Carolina attorney facing double murder charges has filed several motions that they hope are going to help their client. Alec Murdaugh is accused of killing his wife Maggie and son Paul at one of their homes. The two were found shot to death near the family's dog kennel in 2021. The latest motion focuses on blood spatter. A company hired by the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division originally said stains on Murdaugh's shirt were likely transfer stains, but when the report was submitted, the company changed its opinion to say that there were more than 100 high-velocity blood spatter stains on Murdaugh's shirt. The defense is questioning whether the company was pressured to change the report and wants the agency to turn over all communications about blood spatter. We have new information about how investigators are connecting a Delphi, Indiana man to the killing of 2 teenage girls. Their bodies found near a popular hiking trail 5 years ago. Investigators believe Richard Allen killed Libby German and Abby Williams in 2017. According to a newly released probable cause affidavit, police found an unspent bullet between the bodies of the 2 girls. That bullet has been connected back to a pistol owned by Richard Allen. Allen told police he never loaned his gun to anyone and didn't know how an unspent round could have ended up at the crime scene. Allen's legal team has filed a request for a change of venue, saying that the media coverage of the small-town slangs will have tainted the local jury pool. Andrew Baldwin, an attorney for Allen, called the affidavit flimsy, but we reached out to another criminal defense attorney to get his take on the new documents. Here's what Bob Murdaugh, attorney and host of the true crime podcast Defense Diaries, had to say.
I think that there's a sense of urgency when you see a probable cause affidavit like this. As defense counsel, you seriously become concerned that your client truly is innocent, and they're now sitting in jail, which will be at that point 4 months, without any kind of real evidence. So if I'm defense counsel, I'm going in, I'm saying, you need to start giving me some discovery. Show me something, because they're going to see it anyway. I think if they come back with no DNA match in terms of Richard Allen, I think he might get bond based on this. I really do.
All right, I want to bring in co-host, former trial attorney Terry Austin and New York City homicide public defender Brian Buckmeyer to talk about this case. Terry, I'll start with you. Affidavit contains details about these witnesses who may have seen Allen, but do you think that the descriptions are going to be detailed enough to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt? Because that's what we're talking about.
Well, not based on that affidavit. Maybe they have other information. They did talk about the fact that they had information from forensics and they have, witnesses who say they saw it. But this affidavit is flimsy. I agree. It says that these witnesses saw him, but the descriptions are different. The only thing that was etched in stone is the drop-off time and the time that that video was taken. That's the only definitive piece of information in there. Different heights, different colored clothing. And so I think based on that, just identity. In this case is all about identity. I think based on that, there will be, at this point, I have reasonable doubt.
Well, Brian, based on the strengths or maybe the weaknesses of the affidavit, what's going to come next in the case?
Yeah, Murdaugh hit the nail on the head. If I'm the defense attorney in this case, I'm rushing to the judge and saying, Judge, look at this affidavit. It's weak. We need something more if we're going to keep this person, Richard Allen, behind bars. There's going to be an urgency to try to get him out because many people ask me, Brian, is it hard to represent people who are guilty? I say, no, it's innocent. Guilty people go to jail. But when you truly think that you have a client who's potentially innocent, you will move mountains to ensure that they get out of jail so they're not being held during the pendency of the case, and make sure they get out from any potential guilty verdicts. I expect a bond hearing to happen soon and for him to potentially get some amount of bail till he can get out. Yeah,
we're kind of in the beginning stages of this, but we're going to continue to follow it because it's interesting to say the least. After 5 years, we're sort of getting answers. We do have an update for you, though, in the case of Vanessa Guillen. This is the soldier stationed at Fort Hood in Texas when she was killed. Cecily Aguilar pleaded guilty on Tuesday to being involved in the cover-up of Guillen's death. Aguilar pleaded guilty to 1 count of accessory after the fact and 3 counts of making a false statement. Aguilar was the girlfriend of Aaron Robinson, an Army specialist who shot himself when police confronted him. Investigators believe Robinson killed Vanessa Guillen in 2020, cut up her body, burned it, and then buried the pieces in 3 shallow graves. A lawsuit filed against former Saturday Night Live actor Horatio Sanz has been dropped. Court records from New York show both parties appeared or agreed to drop the case. In the 2021 suit, a woman claimed that Sanz groomed her when she was 14 and then sexually assaulted her when she was 17. Horatio Sanz had previously denied the allegations. He was a cast member for SNL from 1998 to 2006 and was the show's first Latino cast member.